It's official, the gloves are off and Justin Baldoni is not playing games anymore. In a stunning new court filing that has taken Hollywood by storm, Baldoni has fired back hard at Blake Lively's last-minute attempt to secure a protective order over her upcoming deposition. For those unfamiliar with legal terms, a protective order in this context would effectively allow Blake to shield herself from having certain statements made public, the kind of statements that could devastate her reputation, alter the course of this lawsuit, and shake the entertainment industry to its core. But Justin, he's not letting that slide. In fact, he's calling it what many people are already whispering behind closed doors: a blatant move to silence the truth. According to newly unsealed legal documents, Baldoni's legal team is categorically rejecting Lively's motion for confidentiality, labeling it as a bad faith maneuver meant to hide damning testimony from the public and the court. And let's not forget, this isn't just about Blake. It's about a broader pattern that's emerging: Hollywood elites using legal gymnastics to protect their brands, even when they're being accused of serious misconduct. This latest twist has ignited a firestorm on social media and triggered intense speculation across Hollywood, with major players now wondering just how bad Blake's deposition could be. What does she need protected so badly? Why is she so afraid of her own words becoming public? Record Baldoni's response, fiery, precise, and unrelenting, paints a picture of a man who is no longer content to play nice in a legal system that he believes has already bent too far to accommodate celebrity privilege. His lawyers argue that if the court allows Blake's testimony to be hidden under the guise of emotional distress or reputation management, then justice will not be served. In their view, the public has a right to know what's being said, especially when the case involves public accusations, possible defamation, and frankly, the manipulation of power. This explosive back and forth is only the latest development in the high-profile legal battle that's already captivated fans, shocked insiders, and left reputations in ruins. But this moment, it could be a turning point, and as Baldoni turns up the heat, Blake Lively's carefully crafted image as a poised, polished A-lister beloved by media and fans alike is beginning to crack. So grab your coffee, because what you're about to hear might just be the most revealing chapter yet in one of the most scandalous Hollywood courtroom dramas in years. Let's get into exactly what happened and what Justin Baldoni just did that has Blake's camp scrambling. Justin Baldoni's legal team didn't just file a response, they unleashed a declaration of war the moment Blake Lively's attorneys submitted their motion for a protective order over her upcoming deposition. Baldoni's side struck back with a detailed, evidence-heavy, and blisteringly critical response that tore into Blake's credibility, questioned her motives, and called into question the integrity of her legal strategy. At the center of the controversy is a now widely circulated filing submitted late Friday, where Blake's team argued that her deposition should be sealed from the public due to the high-profile nature of the case, the potential for misinterpretation, and the real threat of emotional distress and reputational harm. But Baldoni's team fired back with precision, stating in court documents, this request is not rooted in legitimate privacy concerns but in a coordinated effort to obscure the truth, delay proceedings, and suppress potentially incriminating testimony. This court should not entertain the idea that celebrity status warrants special protections from the truth. From the very first paragraph, Baldoni's lawyers made it clear they believe Blake is panicking, and the reason what she's about to say, or what she already said in pre-interviews or leaked drafts, is going to cause irreparable damage. The legal stakes: this isn't just about shielding a celebrity from tabloid headlines, it's about precedent and power. If Blake Lively, a Hollywood darling, can cloak her deposition in secrecy under the claim of emotional harm, what does that say about accountability, about transparency, about the justice system itself? Baldoni's legal counsel, led by powerhouse attorney Marissa Keating, presented a compelling argument that the request for confidentiality was made only after Lively became aware that certain topics, including internal communications between her and a now infamous PR consultant, would be fair game in the deposition. One particularly sharp portion of the filing reads, it is not the court's job to protect Ms. Lively from the consequences of her own words. If she fears reputational harm, perhaps she should reflect on why her deposition may trigger that outcome. The mic drop moment, a reference to prior statements Lively made to the press, where she insisted she had nothing to hide. That very phrase was quoted in Baldoni's response, a rhetorical dagger pointing to hypocrisy. While Blake Lively's legal team scrambles to control the narrative with a protective order, the burning question remains, what exactly is she so desperate to hide? Thanks to court documents, leaked correspondences, and sharp-eyed legal analysts, we now have a good idea of the topics that Justin Baldoni's team plans to press during Blake's deposition. And trust us, they're not the kinds of things you can just spin your way out of. Let's break it down. The Taylor Swift text, the smoking gun, possibly the most shocking and dangerous piece of evidence. Looming over Blake Lively's deposition is her alleged exchange of text messages with Taylor Swift text that Baldoni's team says could directly contradict statements Blake made under oath and in the press. According to a sealed court motion previously referenced in discovery hearings, Blake and Taylor allegedly discussed strategy regarding how to preemptively control media narratives about Baldoni. And if those texts exist and Blake is forced to address them in her deposition, it could destroy her credibility in one fell swoop. Why would this matter? Because Blake has repeatedly positioned herself as a victim in this legal battle, painting Baldoni as manipulative and coercive behind the scenes. But if she and Swift were working behind closed doors to craft a counter-narrative before any public filings, that's not just spin, that's potential defamation. Baldoni's lawyers are expected to question when the texts with Swift were sent, whether Blake encouraged false narratives, if she coordinated with other influencers to spread targeted messaging, why those texts were initially withheld from discovery. Sources inside the courtroom say this is the topic that Blake's legal team most fears becoming public. It not only ropes in another massive celebrity, it also threatens to undermine months of public positioning as a victim too. The secret PR team manufactured victimhood. Another powder keg, Blake Lively's undisclosed relationship with a high-powered crisis management firm that was quietly hired before this lawsuit was ever made public. Baldoni's legal filings hint at a private team of strategists tasked with creating a public framework of sympathy for Blake. The firm's playbook, according to a leaked slide deck obtained by a freelance journalist and now entered into evidence, included suggestions like create tearful confessional moment on controlled talk show, release carefully curated timeline omitting damaging interactions, shift attention to external villain Baldoni to preserve core brand. If Blake is questioned on this under oath, it could lead to an explosive admission that some of the emotional narratives fans latched onto weren't grounded in truth, they were part of a PR chess game. That would change everything. Fans, media outlets, and legal observers would have to reevaluate the entire story, and it could open Blake up to claims of malicious intent, especially if it's proven she crafted an emotional arc designed to trigger public outrage against Baldoni while knowingly withholding facts. 3. The deleted messages scandal, evidence tampering. Perhaps the most legally dangerous line of questioning Blake's alleged deletion of relevant messages after receiving notice that she was likely to be sued. This alone could constitute spoliation of evidence, a serious violation in civil litigation, and Baldoni's team knows it. Their filing included metadata recovered from a cloud account that appeared to show deletions of multiple conversations between Blake and unnamed third parties. Directly after her legal counsel confirmed receipt of Baldoni's legal threat, a digital forensics expert retained by Baldoni's team reportedly told the court that dozens of deletion events occurred within the 48-hour period following formal notification. Blake's team tried to argue that these were routine cleanups for privacy and storage, but the timing, the subjects of the messages, the people involved, it's all too coincidental. In her deposition, she may be forced to answer the hardest questions yet. Did you delete messages after being told you might be sued? Who advised you to do so? Were the messages about Baldoni or this case? Did you notify the court about these deletions? The consequences of any evasion or contradiction here could be severe, including sanctions or penalties for withholding evidence. For personal history with Baldoni, contradictory accounts. Then there's the inconsistency in Blake's own retelling of her relationship with Justin Baldoni. Early media appearances painted their working relationship as tense, creatively mismatched, and occasionally hostile. But earlier interviews from years ago, as well as behind-the-scenes footage from the project they worked on, show a different story, one of close collaboration, admiration, even friendship. Baldoni's team intends to put these contradictions under a microscope. They've even subpoenaed outtakes and raw footage from interviews Blake gave to promote that same project, suggesting her words then don't match her narrative now. Expect deposition questions like, why did you publicly praise Justin then but claim harm now? Did you ever report any misconduct to HR or your agency? Why didn't you express these concerns until after your film underperformed? This line of questioning could completely dismantle the foundation of Blake's claims, casting her not as a target of professional abuse, but as a former collaborator trying to rewrite history. In response to personal fallout. 5. Financial interests and brand collateral. The last major area expected to be discussed in her deposition: money. Specifically, how Blake's various lifestyle brands, investments, and product endorsements are intertwined with her public persona and how much she has at stake. If that persona is damaged, it's widely known that Lively's brand success depends heavily on her image as a clean, glamorous, trustworthy figure. According to filings, some of her largest brand partnerships quietly flagged concerns after the lawsuit went public, with one company reportedly putting its deal with her under review due to reputational sensitivity. If Baldoni's team can prove that Blake's legal team was driven more by economic preservation than truth, they may argue her entire campaign against Baldoni is monetarily motivated, not morally driven. Public reaction speculation turns to suspicion as word of the protective order request spread across social media. Fans and commentators began voicing their own doubts. Trending tweets included, "Why would Blake Lively need to hide her deposition unless she's scared of what might come out? Baldoni's coming with receipts, and Blake's trying to put a gag order on her own mouth. Make it make sense. If she's confident in her story, she should want it public." Legal TikTok and Reddit forums have lit up with speculation about everything from Taylor Swift's potential involvement to whether Blake's deposition might be leaked anyway. The public perception is shifting, and rapidly. Behind the red carpets and curated Instagram posts, a much darker truth is unfolding in the halls of Hollywood. The fallout from Blake Lively's desperate bid to shield her deposition testimony has reached far beyond the courtroom. It's shaking up the entertainment industry, revealing cracks in long-standing alliances and even making some of Blake's most powerful friends distance themselves behind closed doors. The once untouchable star now finds herself navigating treacherous territory, and she may be realizing far too late that in the industry she once ruled, loyalty has a short shelf life when reputations and revenue are on the line. 1. The Ryan Reynolds dilemma. Husband or businessman? First at the center of this uncomfortable reckoning stands Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively's husband, co-investor, and longtime partner in Hollywood branding dominance. But those close to the situation are saying Ryan is under enormous pressure to pick a side, protect his wife at all costs, or safeguard his billion-dollar business empire. Reynolds, who co-owns brands like Mint Mobile and Wrexham Football Club, is reportedly facing internal questions from stakeholders who are worried about brand perception. Sources from inside Mint Mobile's parent company told legal journalists that there have been multiple emergency meetings discussing how closely to associate Reynolds with Lively during this legal firestorm. He's been notably absent from recent interviews, red carpet events, and public commentary, a silence that many are interpreting as more strategic than supportive. One former marketing executive put it bluntly, "Ryan knows this is bad optics. His whole career right now is built on being lovable, ethical, family-friendly. This case threatens that. He won't let that brand burn for anyone, not even his wife." Even more telling, his publicist's refusal to comment when approached directly about Blake's deposition scandal. 2. Taylor Swift's camp goes quiet when rumors first surfaced that Taylor Swift might be looped into this lawsuit via her private texts with Blake. The reaction from Swift's team was swift and chillingly professional. Multiple reporters who reached out to her management were met with no comment statements or outright silence, a stark contrast to Taylor's usual media machine that jumps to support her friends. Insiders are saying Swift is furious that her name is being dragged into a legal fight she never wanted to be a part of, and if those texts between her and Blake are revealed during the deposition, it could severely damage the pop icon's carefully maintained public persona. Already, gossip blogs and blind items are claiming that Taylor has begun quietly distancing herself from Blake, limiting contact and refusing any joint public appearances. As one insider put it, Taylor has survived worse, but she won't let Blake's mess become her PR problem. If those texts go public and they sound vindictive or strategic, game over for their friendship. 3. Brand deals in crisis. The cost of silence. Blake Lively isn't just a movie star. She's a commercial juggernaut, the face of luxury fashion campaigns, beverage endorsements, and skincare lines, but that may all be at risk now. Several industry sources have confirmed that at least 2 major fashion houses are reconsidering active campaigns featuring Blake, fearing that continued association could draw backlash if the deposition reveals lies, manipulation, or calculated media deception. One particularly damning quote comes from a fashion executive who remained anonymous. "We don't sell clothes, we sell trust. If audiences stop trusting Blake, she's useless to us." A major beauty company that once touted Blake as the ultimate modern woman has reportedly scrubbed all references to her from their promotional pages and archived materials. Even beverage brands she's tied to are watching closely, reportedly pausing scheduled campaigns pending the outcome of this legal moment. The bigger picture, Blake's earning potential is tanking fast, and if she doesn't regain control of the narrative, The loss could total tens of millions in sponsorship and licensing deals. For Hollywood's power players' private conversations, public distance behind the scenes, agents, producers, and directors are talking and planning. No one wants to publicly abandon Blake yet, but in the town, where silence speaks volumes, the message is loud and clear: her star is dimming. An unnamed producer who once worked with Blake told a legal journalist, "We're watching a slow collapse. Not because of the case itself, but because she's being exposed as someone who can't handle the truth being public. That's deadly. In this town." Even worse, there are rumors that at least two pending projects Blake was attached to have gone on hold indefinitely. Scripts that were greenlit, meetings that were scheduled, all reportedly paused while studios evaluate her. Q-score, the metric used to determine public favorability and casting viability. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's image is on the rise. His refusal to stay quiet, his decision to fight back, and his consistent messaging around transparency and integrity are resonating in a Hollywood desperate for male figures who don't shy away from accountability. In a shocking twist, Baldoni has even been approached for 2 new directing opportunities, and at least one major studio has expressed interest in developing a documentary or scripted miniseries based on the lawsuit. 5 Whispers of Betrayal. Lively's inner circle shrinks. Perhaps the most brutal part of this unfolding saga is what it's doing to Blake's inner circle. Friends who were once vocal supporters, who posted "We stand with Blake" messages or gushed about her on red carpets, have gone silent. A-listers like Gigi Hadid, Karlie Kloss, and even some of Blake's former co-stars have noticeably stopped engaging with her posts, tagging her in events, or inviting her to private influencer getaways. Behind the scenes, text chains have reportedly fractured, and according to one well-placed source, nobody wants to be the next one dragged in. People are deleting old messages, archiving photos, cutting ties. In Hollywood, it doesn't take long for support to become liability. And if Blake's deposition opens up names, conversations, and private exchanges, no one wants to get caught. In the splash zone, media fallout headlines tell the story. Mainstream outlets are catching up. What began as legal drama is now crossing into full-blown reputation implosion, with headlines like "Blake Lively fights to gag her own testimony. What is she hiding?" New York Post. Baldoni's team says Lively tried to suppress truth, protective order challenged. The Hollywood Reporter. Is this the end of America's sweetheart image for Blake Lively? Variety. Some of the most biting commentary is coming from independent journalists and content creators who were targeted by Blake's legal team with subpoenas earlier this year. Now many are vindicated, saying this move proves Blake knows the truth could be devastating. As the dust settles from the explosive motion filed by Justin Baldoni's legal team, one thing is clear: the protective veil Blake Lively has tried to pull over this legal battle is unraveling fast. Her once meticulously managed image as the unbothered, composed, glamorous A-lister is now being consumed by a narrative she can no longer control. What began as a strategic legal maneuver to shield herself from public scrutiny has instead ignited an inferno of suspicion, backlash, and media frenzy. By trying to silence her own deposition under the guise of emotional distress and celebrity status, Blake may have triggered the very outcome she hoped to avoid. People now desperately want to know what she's hiding and why. Justin Baldoni's decision to slam Blake's protective order as a cover-up wasn't just about this one motion. It was a statement not just to the court, but to the public, to the industry, and to Blake herself. There will be no special treatment here. If she's going to accuse, she must also be willing to answer for it. And the legal system for once might just demand that even a Hollywood star sits under oath and faces the truth without the luxury of curated PR filters. The deeper issue here is much bigger than to celebrities locked in a courtroom feud. This case has become a referendum on how power, influence, and perception work in the age of digital manipulation. The old rules where public figures could steer a scandal with one People magazine interview and a well-timed Instagram post don't work when the legal system and digital sleuths are closing in from all sides. The public isn't buying sanitized narratives anymore, they want receipts. And Justin Baldoni has them, or at least enough to challenge the version of events Blake has pushed for months. Now all eyes are on the judge. If the court denies Blake's request for confidentiality, her deposition will be on record and potentially in the public domain. That means the truth will no longer be filtered by her publicist, spun by her brand team, or buried behind closed doors. Hollywood is already reacting. Brands are pausing, collaborators are backing away, and longtime allies are going silent. Blake Lively's attempt to outmaneuver this crisis legally might have backfired in the most public, irreversible way. In the end, this isn't just a legal battle, it's a reckoning. A moment where reputation meets reality, and no amount of fame can soften the blow of a hard truth under oath. The question now isn't just what did Blake Lively say, it's what happens when the world finally hears it, and if Justin Baldoni has anything to say about it, they will.